Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihi. Amma ba'du. Welcome to our Ramadan. Ramadan Mubarak. Welcome to our Ramadan morning sessions. That's what we will call it. Ramadan morning sessions. And this is our third session. And we're looking at chapter 2, verse 138, a continuing theme, just a conclusion of a continuing theme of the previous verses that we have done. We're going to be looking at, starting from the Arabic text, with the common translation, I should say. Then we'll look at a reflection, which is different from a translation. Perhaps the translation is included in the reflection. And then we will look at the science of semantics, ilmul ma'ani, a branch of balagha, rhetorical eloquence of the Quran. And al-ma'ani, I like to describe it as a step up from grammar. So Mali has its system, the system that I believe a couple of years ago, I went over the system of Mali. So balagha would be added to the system. So a student should spend the first year you spend, if you want to call it tajweed, enunciation of words, so that you could read phonetically, phonetics. That's the first year of just phonetics. So that when you're reading, you could see words. You could see the words. You're not stumbling along in your reading. Spend the first year in dealing with phonetics. Then you want to spend another 4 years in grammar. Within the grammar school, you will learn to use dictionary and look up other sources. With today's technology, 4 years, a good year of phonetics, another 4 years of grammar, and then another 2 years of balagha. 1 year of al-ma'ani and 1 year of al-bayan. That would be the system. So we're talking about 7 years. 1 year of phonetics, 4 of grammar, and then 2 of balagha. $7 years. And within those 7 years, you will be researching and writing as you're doing homework. So a 7-year program. Now I know to most you'll faint when you hear 7 years, but that's really a short period of time when you're learning to read the Quran with comprehension. You're dealing with the Quran. But that's, if you do 7 years, then you're not trying to cram in everything within a couple of years. 7 good years. We have the whole system laid out for 7 years, for 7 good years of this program, the Mali system. Yes. Now, I'm thinking about, maybe not this, maybe after Ramadan. Even during Ramadan, you will get a good dosage of al-ma'ani. Then through the year, we look at al-Ma'ani. Maybe next Ramadan we have a good dosage of al-Bayan. And we're looking at al-Bayan through the year already. So we're looking at both of them through the year, and then we'll have a month of it. That will give the students a good a good look at al-Ma'ani, al-Bayan, and we already have the grammar. We've done the grammar with dictionary and everything. So this we'll put it all together as the Mali. This is the Mali system. Yes. For reading and comprehending the Quran without having to speak the language. So let's get started. 138. We're going to look at al-Ma'ani, and then in the end we will have a comment on the verse. So the verse reads, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Sibgata. Let's see, what's the translation usually given for Sibgata? It means to die, but baptize, the baptism of Allah. Where man, and it just stops there. That's the phrase. Sibgata Allahi. That's the phrase. Then we're going to connect it to the next phrase. Where man ahsanu min Allahi sibgatan. That's the next phrase. وَنَحْنُ لَهُ عَابِدُونَ. So who is ahsanu? Man ahsanu. Who is more excellent? Min Allah than Allah sibgatan. So it's the tamyiz. We're comparing. Ahsanu is the noun of comparison. We're comparing sibgatan. So who is more excellent in terms of baptism than Allah? وَنَحْنُ, and we, lahu, to him, abiduna, and we are servants to him. Yes, we could say it like that. Okay, so we have three phrases here. And then we learn, as we have said, to connect the phrases. We connect the words, each word, within each word, the words connect grammatically. Then the phrases will connect grammatically. We want to learn how to read the phrases. You read the first phrase, pause, take a breath, reflect. Read the next phrase, reflect. Reflect on this phrase as it has reference to the previous phrase. Then you read the next phrase that has reference to the previous phrase. So don't speed read the Quran. You want to learn how to read the phrases. So now, what's separating the phrases? Here we have a way. When you have a way, you want to take a look to see if you are joining two words or are you joining two phrases. Now, before we showed how we could determine the phrases by verbs. If you have a verb, most likely it's the start of a new phrase when you have the verb. Here, when you have a wa, you would say Allah wa man. Most likely you're not joining Allah with man. You're not saying Allah and man and whoever. So that will start a new phrase. Now, when you have a mubtada, the mubtada also starts a new phrase. Like we have here, nahnu. Nahnu is going to start a new phrase because when you have a pronoun that's detached, it's going to be most likely what we would call a subject pronoun, a mubtada. The mubtada initiates a new phrase. So we have a nahnu and we have a man. So this wa here is an indicator. This wa will be an indicator of a new phrase. Take a look to see if this wa is joining a word, if not a phrase. Sibgatan wa nahnu, they're not joined together. You wouldn't say baptism and we. So you would know that's the start of a new phrase. Pause. When you get to the wa, just pause to take a look. Then you want to, because you're fairly new at reading Quran for yourself, don't try to read too fast that you can't see where one phrase began and the other ends. Take a little at a time and reflect. You have to learn to read and reflect, like breathing. Breathing. Take your time and breathe. Don't talk so much. Some people, they talk so much and so fast, they have to stop to take a deep breath, and then they start talking again. No. Take your time and breathe. Breathe while you're reading. Don't follow those that say, I'm fluent and read everything and speed read the Quran. Not the way you treat the Quran to speed read it. You want to be inspired by it. You want Allah to inspire you. In fact, you want Allah to read it to you. Now let's look at the reflection. The inner divine imprint of Allah. Sibgata Allahi. The inner divine imprint of Allah. And then I put the 3 dots because it's not a complete thought, a complete sentence or a complete clause. Then we say, who is more excellent than others in the ability to transform the very essence of the soul through an ontological infusion, allowing the servant to become imbued with the qualities of Allah's attributes. Wa man ahsanu min Allahi sibgatan. So a lot of this I am writing, as you can see, sibgatan. Sibgatan would be the ability to transform the very essence of the soul through an ontological infusion, allowing the servant to become imbued with the qualities of Allah's attributes. That's sibgatan. Stretched it out. Sibgatan. Which all of it becomes an imprinting. We not only believe in this transformation, but we also become the embodiment through which the divine names are manifested in our actions. وَنَحْنُ لَهُ عَابِدُونَ. So now you can see the reflection. Now let's take a look at Ma'ani and the commentary to perhaps help understand the reflection. So the verse, Sibgatallahi وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ مِنَ اللَّهِ صِبْغَةً وَنَحْنُ لَهُ عَابِدُونَ. So the overall maqsad is the communicative aim. This is the aim, the overall aim. Costume, the overall aim. This verse summarizes the identity of the community. The identity of the community described in the preceding verses by recasting their faith as a distinctive coloring. A distinctive coloring from Allah, Sibga, in contrast to Jewish and Christian confessional claims. Now, we have to go back and look at the last two verses. Actually, it started at 135. We did 136 and 137. So we go back and look at those two verses to understand this verse. Because this verse is in reference to the verse that came before it. This one chapter is in reference to the chapter that came before it. One scripture, the Quran, is in reference to the scripture that came before it. This is reading with comprehension. Now, and we have writings, scholars that have studied Quran before, and they have written on what they have found, their findings in the Quran in terms of language. That's what we're studying. We're studying the language of the Quran. Al-Ma'ani is the language. So it functions as masdarun mu'akkadun. Masdarun mu'akkadun. This is the function of the whole verse. Confirming internal noun for the implicit or explicit declaration of faith. And as a closing sentence or a closing verse that seals their claim with an image-laden slogan. This is the overall context of the verse. Structure and syntactic function. Number one, Sibgata Allahi. Sibgata Allahi. That's the first phrase we're going to look at. So the opening of the verse is a masdarun mansub, an accusative internal noun. Sibgata. Now, the early students can identify, not the early, but the let me move this down. The newer students, the students that's in the grammar class, you should be able to recognize Sibgata. It ends in fatha. It's starting the verse, it ends in fatha. That makes it, in a sense, noun, which makes it accusative. Mansub. That's the Arabic word. Now you understand why we have to go through grammar learning the Arabic nomenclature. So when we come to sources like this, we will understand the nomenclature. What mansub is. It's the accusative. Masdar. Masdar is the word for the internal noun. Masdar. So it's the And we also have mastar as for uh, origin. For the origin, the meaning, the origin of meaning comes out of the mastar. So this is an accusative internal noun. Sibgat. Sibgat is a mastar, internal noun. So you understand that much. It's a review for that group. That's why I say I'm speaking directly to the Mali students, and though there are others listening and can benefit also. So it's used as this. The opening is an accusative internal noun, and this is the term that I have given for Mali, an internal noun, used as mastarun muakkadun, confirmatory. So this, in the accusative, is used to confirm, mu'akkad, to a strong confirmation when we say sibgata Allahi. But what caused this to end in the fatah? We go back, nothing comes before it. We always go back. There's nothing that comes before it. So that means we have an ellipsis. But this is written this way. Look at the language of how Allah writes it this way, speaks this way. It's speech. We're studying the speech. And what we're studying is the speech of Allah given to Muhammad the Prophet, and we're studying the pattern of speech. When we're looking at the Quran, you have to understand it came as speech first. It didn't come as a written book, not as a textbook. It came as speech. So what the scholars have done is study this pattern of speech. Then, by studying the pattern of speech, we have the grammatical rules of speech. And now we have in here the semantical, if that's the proper way to say it, rules of speech. We're studying the pattern of speech and giving names to it, scientific names to it, I would say. Remember, that's what we're doing. Studying this. So here in this pattern of speech, he says, Sibgata Allahi. Sibgata Allahi. Without there being anything, there's an ellipsis. Something is to be understood. But the use of this speech like this is to bring about mu'akkadun, confirmation, some confirmatory idea for the preceding declaration of belief that was in the previous verse. So it's connecting to the previous verse, but perhaps not grammatically in thought and idea. As many commentators explain it as Amanna Sibgatallahi, we believe with the coloring of Allah, because in the previous verse we started with Amanna, as though this is a continuation of Amanna. So when we have an ellipsis, sometimes we will go back. You have to see the context. In order to put a word in here, a verb that's affecting this noun to become accusative, we go back. Sometimes we can go back, the scholar will go back and they'll find a word or something that was said previously. Because you keep going back. Something that was said previously. Sometimes there is a contextual idea that cannot be expressed in one word. So the ellipsis occurs. Because we can't put one word that will express this idea. as the philosopher says, the best ideas cannot be expressed literally. So we have to use something that we know or something that we see to help us understand or point to something that we don't know or that we can't see. So we find this in Quranic language. There's an ellipsis because perhaps this idea, we want to convey an idea, and if I put a word in here like amana, we may lose it may not really be expressing this idea in such a confirmatory way that we want to express it, give feeling to it. So we may find this in the Quran. So when you read Sibgata Allahi, there's a certain feeling that you're going to get from it because words have been omitted to put great emphasis on Sibgata. And Sibgata is the Taqdeem. That's the fronting. That's the first thing that's mentioned is Sibgata Allahi. So that's the crux of this whole verse. Sibgata Allahi. So we say, he says here, this fronted, meaning the first thing mentioned, bear masdarun, meaning this bare internal noun, also carries the force of an elliptical exhortation, which we have discussed, as if saying, adhere to the coloring of Allah, adhere to the Sibghat Allah with explanation. So they're given an idea of what word can we pencil in? What thought are we to understand as we pencil in this idea? What we say today, we come back next week, we may say something else. What we say today, it may last us for 100 years. It may be applicable. We use it. It benefits for 100 years. After 100 years, a reformer may have to come because it's no longer the way we're reading it. The way we're reading it, it no longer has its savor. Like salt, the salt has lost its savor. So now we have to read it again. That's what happens when we have the reformer. The reformer doesn't come and change the language. The reformer has to come and reread it for the time and place that we find ourselves in. The people, the time, and the place. The same book, but may give a different reading because of how it was understood 100 years ago and applied in that place and time that fit well to that place and time and that people, that culture, so forth and so on. But now we come to another place in another time with another culture, people we would say, but without changing the culture to try to be like the culture 100 years ago. The Quran can be applied to that new place, time, and people. And usually, Allah will send the reformer. Yes. Very important for us to understand. And now what we're reading and looking at is what prior scholars have said, that we will study them. Then we're going to advance what they're saying. We're going to reconcile what they're saying to fit the time and place that we're in. This is the Muslim world was like this at one time. The scholars would come looking at what came before them, advancing what came before them, reconciling what came before them. We lost that. Perhaps during the long period of colonization and slavery. Now we're coming back to it. But there's some who will say, oh, you're not supposed to do that. You're only supposed to read what the 10th century scholars have said, and that's it. Repeat what they say, and that's it. Because we're falling into personality worship. Okay, let's continue. Adhere to the coloring of Allah. So that's what a certain scholar would say, person would say. Adhere, another would say, we believe in the coloring of Allah. So whatever you put there, it's not ink. You don't ink it in. You pencil it in. Which fits, this idea fits the polemical context. So we're looking at the context of what was said before, where others say, be Jews or Christians. That's in the previous verses. Be Jews or Christians. So the response to that, in a very emphatic form, is Sibgatallahi. That's the response. That's the concluding response in the argument or discussion. Addition of the name Idafa, the possessive case, Lillahi. So we're showing that there is a possessive case. That Allah is, in the expression, we would say is mudafun ilayhi. So you have idafun, an idafun expression. You have the idaf, and then mudaf. This is the mudaf. Sibgata is the first term of possession, mudaf in Arabic, and then Allahi is the second term possession, mudaf on ilayhi. Mudaf on ilayhi. So let's move grammar up a notch. That's the grammar that you all know. We're going to take it up a notch now. So here he's given us this idea that addition of the name in the possessive case, lillahi, this lamb becomes the lamb of possession. The sibgata belongs to Allah. It belongs to Allah. Sibgata Allahi. We say fitrata Allahi. Fitrata Allahi. The nature belongs to Allah. But it may not be, but Allah may not be colored. The coloring belongs to Allah. But it's not talking about the color of Allah. Understand? It's not the color of Allah. It's the coloring that belongs to Allah. Allah is the one doing the coloring, not the one that's being colored. It yields a qasanan idafi, a restrictive attribution. This is the use of it. This language. The true defining coloring is exclusively that which is from Allah, not any humanly defined label. It's strictly, exclusively from Allah. In the expression Sibgatallahi, So you're seeing the function now. We have the grammar, now the function of it. The function of this, of what we're reading now, that gives us greater insight and comprehension of the reading. As we're putting verses together now. Semantically, classical works gloss Sibghatulahi as his religion and innate disposition. It's religion, the religion of Allah, and the innate disposition, fitra, we call the original nature, that innate disposition, with which he fashions his servants. So you will see this idea in the reflection, in which he fashions his servants, drawing on the original sense of dye that permanently marks what it touches. So this is, we're talking about the Sibghatullah, as he's given maybe a tafsir or explanation of what the Sibghatullahi is, religion or that innate disposition that's coloring, that's being colored, let's say, or is the dye itself. And we could say during this month of Ramadan, we're being colored again. You know, there's some rust that have gotten on the original nature. Little rust have gotten in. A little coloring has faded with sinful acts. Maybe not major sin, but through influences, environmental influences, have kind of taken away that original, that coloring. So now we have Sibghatullahi during the month of Ramadan. We're being dipped into the dye again. Yes. Dipped into the fire, that we come out as gold again. Well, man, ahsanu. Number 2. This is the second phrase. Let me move it down, so if I have to come back, I won't have to scroll so much. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ مِنَ اللَّهِ صِبْغَةً. So the word begins a new thought, a new resumptive sentence. Jumlatun isti'nafiyatun. Jumlatun, this vocabulary you should know, isti'nafiyatun is in the Abu Faris. You've come across it quite often. It's the isti'faniya, meaning a new thought, a new idea. But still, in service of the first, though it's a new idea, it's still attached to the previous phrase. They're all connecting, but this is presented as, this wag here is the wag is presenting. We call it atfun isti'nafiyah, presenting a new thought by justifying that exclusive color. So it's still in service of the first by justifying that exclusive color. So when we say Sibghatullahi, that was an exclusive expression we just said. Now, here's a justification of that expression, Sibghatullahi, seeing it as an exclusive expression. In this sense, let me say, that we see how the Quran is defining itself. The interrogative. Man asanu. Who is more excellent? That's the interrogative. Who is more excellent? This is istifham inkari, a rhetorical question of denial. It's inkari, denial. It's a rhetorical question of denial. Meaning, actually, none is better. We're asking the question rhetorically, but really we're saying none is better. So in this pattern of speech, ahsanu min Allahi sibgatan is a case of tafdilun maslubun. It's a comparative form used to negate any rival. It's a maslub. It's a denial or the removing of this idea in terms of this comparative, dismissing the idea of anything being more excellent. Tafdilun, this comparative here, maslub, this ahsanu men. We know it's the comparative now, but in its usage, what is it doing in usage? What is its function? It's negating any rival. To the sense, so the sense is there is no coloring whatsoever superior to Allah's coloring. It may take you a little time to get used to seeing the grammar and then the functioning of it and then the meaning that you get from it. So this is what's being said in brevity, brief, short. The writing, the Quranic writing is very impactful. Now we're unpacking. We're unpacking it. You know, it's like when you see someone pulls up in one of those old 1970 Volkswagens, the Bug, and 20 people gets out. They start unpacking. And you wonder, how did all of those people get in such a small vehicle? So how is all of this said with just a couple of words? That's what we're studying. We're unpacking all of this from a few words. So now, let's continue. Repetition. Repetition of sibgatan in the indefinite now. Indefinite, we know, it means it ends in tanween. The definite has the alif lam, or the alif lam is understood. Indefinite, when you see the tanween, you know that's the sign of the indefinite. So it's the repetition in the indefinite after having just said Sibghatal Allahi. Now understand this. Let me finish and then I'll go back. Let me finish and go back. Sibghatal Allahi, it gives tankirun lit ta'zim, indefiniteness for magnification. Here, the indefinite is used for magnification. Any magnifying this idea, any form of Sibgatan, any form of Sibgatan, magnifying the idea by using the indefinite. In a hypothetical comparison, which further elevates Allah's coloring. So, two things here. He's bringing out the idea of using an indefinite, meaning any form of coloring, and there are many forms of coloring. Every child is born with a pure innate disposition, untouched. But it is the environment, the circumstance that the child is placed in that may begin to color over that nature. So here in this indefinite, we're saying any form of coloring that takes place or any influence that takes place, then we're saying that no one is more excellent. Nothing is more excellent in coloring than Allah. Now, you know, they say when you do something over and over, you build homes. You build homes over and over. You work with electricity. Every day I have a job. I go there 8 hours a day. Every day I put my mind to what I'm doing, and what I'm doing comes out of my mind. After a while, I'm colored by that act. I'm so much colored by it that my identity becomes an electrician. Someone say, what do you do? What do you do? No, it's not what do you do, it's what's your color? What color are you? Ontologically speaking. Oh, I'm black. No. You're not black. Not that color. Like people would say, they're not black-skinned, but they say I'm black as an identity. But you're not black on the outside. You black on the inside, brother. That's your coloring. Black is your coloring. But that coloring doesn't give us much in terms of quality. What does it suggest in quality? What does color? Color, color. Black, white, red. What does it suggest to the mind in terms of quality? It doesn't suggest much in terms of quality. But you're talking about not the external coloring, even though we give attention to that too. We're talking about an internal coloring. So you say, not what do you do, what's your color? My color is electrician. My color is carpentry. That's my color. I've been colored by this. I am good at it. I am so good at it, we say I could do it in my sleep because I've been colored by it, by the principles and laws of electricity. It has colored my soul. So we don't want black to be the color of our soul. We want Bilal to be the color of our soul. Not black Bilal, but we want to get up and be found studying this Quran before the sunrise, every morning before Fajr. Studying this Quran until our soul becomes colored by the Quran. Then we're Bilal. That's Bilal. The new, fresh, and getting these new, fresh ideas. That's Bilal. Now, what's my color? My color is Bilal. Bilal the slave? Yes. The servant of Allah. We are to him. We are servants to him. And we have been colored by the coloring. We define this coloring as Bilal. Now we are Bilalians. Fresh, new, every morning. Getting that dew. Getting the salawat, the manna and the salawat. You have to get it in the morning when the sunrise is gone. You can't get it. The coloring won't last. Before half the day is gone, before half the day the coloring is gone. You don't remember. Yes. This is the coloring of our soul. Let me put it in that sense. So who's better at coloring than Allah? Who's more excellent at coloring than Allah? So when we're coloring ourselves with the Quran, that's the coloring of Allah. That we say it becomes habitual. So now the other point, as we can see, by saying Sibgah twice, by reading Sibgah twice, it put great emphasis on it. When you see repetition used in the Quran, the repetition is given for emphasis. You know, like the shadda. The shadda is placed on the word that forms repetition, as though you're saying the word twice. And saying it twice bring about the emphasis you're placing on it. By saying it over and over and over, that gives it that repetition gives it strong emphasis. So here Sibgah is being mentioned twice to give strong emphasis to this idea of coloring. Yes. So now we understand. Now we can go back. Let's go back to the saying. Is that every child, when the Quran, in the Quran is saying, be Christian or Jew. This is the discussion. This is the argument. Be Christian or Jew. Right? We say Sibgah Talahi. So now we're saying, let's take from this. Every child is born upon this fitrah, this pure innate disposition, but it's the environment, his parents, that makes him Christian or Jew. It's not about being Christian or Jew by label. It's about keeping to that original nature and being colored with the coloring of Allah. So and this is not a historical attack on Christian and Jew. It's something that Allah is showing that may have occurred historically to give us this meaning or this idea today, this argument today. Not to go out and criticize Christians and Jews, no more than to criticize black people who label themselves as being black. Black is their color. No, my color is the coloring of Allah. And that coloring is the Quran. That's the paint the paint that metaphorically speaking that we use. Yes, to color ourselves. But any other coloring is inferior to the coloring of Allah. From an ilmul ma'ani angle, from an ilmul ma'ani angle, this middle clause that we're discussing now is a ta'lil, rationale, purpose, for the initial slogan. We adopt Allah's coloring because no alternative coloring can compete in beauty or truth. So Muhammad the Prophet, the praise and the peace be upon him, when asked what is his coloring, what is his character, what is his soul, what is he? There's something maybe you can tell us that we don't know because you're his wife. And she said, have you not read the Quran? You come to me looking for some paint that you don't know about, and he has been colored, painted with the Quran. So we take that to say he's the Quran walking. But when we read his life, many of us can't associate or connect his life with the Quran. We read it separately. We can't rationalize it. See his life after revelation. We can see it before revelation, but let's talk about after revelation. We know he has been colored after revelation. This coloring has taken place. But can we see his life in conjunction with the Quran itself to say, when I look at his life, I'm seeing the Quran. When I read the Hadith, I'm seeing the Quran. That's why when I say, if you are saying, he says to this group, I have more rights to Moses than they do, then we can't go in the Quran and see where, when it deals with fasting, that we have more rights to Moses than they do. If it's not given to you in the ABCs. Number 3, وَنَحْنُ لَهُ عَابِدُونَ, the last phrase. This is a jumlatun ismiyatun. This phrase you should learn. Jumlatun ismiyatun, meaning a nominal sentence. These are the lessons we get now coming from grammar that I didn't give in the grammar. I gave the basic of what you needed at that moment. Now you will understand this if I give it to you now. You can grasp it. Based upon what you have learned with those 5 sheets, if your mind just go back to those 5 sheets, everything I'm saying about grammar, it goes back to those 5 sheets. Now you can understand if I talk about a nominal sentence with nahnu, meaning that the sentence, it has nouns in it. It doesn't have a verb in it. And you know what nahnu is, the explicit mubtada. You understand that because that's on the sheet. That when the pronoun is detached, it's most likely a mubtada. When a pronoun is attached to a verb, attached to the verb, it's going to be the maf'ulun bihi, the object of the verb. When the pronoun is attached to the noun, it's going to be mudafun ilayhi, the second term possessive to that noun. It's all on the sheets. And abiduna es khabarun. That's grammar. The prepositional phrase lahu. Now, here's something to learn. You understand mubtada, you understand khabar. Here is the mubtada, and here is the khabar. So I'll say in the class, if we just take this out right now and read these two words, they should make sense. We are servants. We are worshipers. How we want to translate it. It makes sense. Now you can say to him. But now, why is this prepositional phrase could have been put here? We nahnu abiduna lahu. It could have been put here. Now, let's take a look. So the prepositional phrase lahu is brought forward. Normally, we would say we are servants to him. Normally, the prepositional phrase would come here on the end. But it's brought forward. When it says brought forward, it's brought from here, it's brought forward to here. We're bringing it forward. Now, in this pattern of speech that we're studying, the fronting, what is usually postponed. Usually you postpone the prepositional phrase, but now taqdeem. Taqdeem is we're bringing it forward, we're fronting. Right? What is usually postponed, yielding a sense of restriction. That's the idea. Where you is brought there and yielding a sense of restriction, meaning that we are worshipers of him alone. It's restricted. Our worship, our servitude is restricted to Allah alone. Even if you think for one moment, I am serving you, no. My service to you is really a service to Allah. And I have to abide by all the rules and laws that the Quran has colored my soul with. I'm applying it in my actions. Therefore, it's your problem if you think I'm such a great servant. When I offer my service to you, it's your problem if you think you're God. That's your problem. It's not my problem. That's your problem. Many of us, because of what slavery have done to us, we dislike servant, to be called a servant. Servitude. Everybody, think about it. Everybody offers a service to somebody else. We're talking in the human sense. Every human being offers some kind of service to another human being. Because we have been created as servants. But our true servitude is to Allah, unrestricted. If you understand. And if you're a servant to Allah, then you are to be their best servants. If your soul is colored by the Quran and we're created to be servants of Allah, then to man we should be the most excellent service when we're servants to each other. Yes. It would be like, I have to use my basketball analogy because you all know I don't have much of a life. So I have to use my basketball analogy. And maybe I need to go learn, look at some basketball to understand me sometimes. It's like LeBron James, he's at the top of the best basketball player in the world. This guy that can run fast, Bolt. He's the fastest human being in the world. It's like he's gonna go and run against someone in elementary school. He should be he should be the greatest thing that ever ran in an elementary school. It's like LeBron's going to play some kids, 12 or 13-year-olds. He has to be the most excellent. So it's the same as when we're serving Allah, consciously serving Allah. The service that we're applying to the human being should be so great. It should be unfair. To even try to measure me as a servant because I'm the servant of Allah. You can't get better than that. So the Muslim should be the best servant. It should be on the side of your truck. We offer the best service because we're Muslims. You want me to come and clean your carpet? We offer the best service in carpet cleaning because we're Muslim. And being Muslim, we're servants of Allah because we have been colored by the Quran. Maybe we offer the best service because the Quran is our coloring. I get 10% on these slogans. Because I'm offering my service. Okay, I'm sure you understand. People hear things we say, they take them and use them. And we won't even think that they're listening. Many business people, they take other people's ideas that other people don't even use and do well with their ideas. They don't even use them. They see no benefit. They see nothing in them. Yes, we've been given that example before. The man was giving us how you could be on an elevator with the top business person. And he could just be saying something. He'll take what you say and use it. You don't use it. You have no use for it. In that sense, you could be like an angel, giving him an idea he's been looking for, and you give it to him. But you don't even know you're giving it to him. The shift to a nominal sentence indicates stability and continuity. Now, we've said this kind of yesterday when we talk about a nominal sentence. When this nominal sentence is used in the pattern of speech, it brings about continuity of the servitude, not a fleeting action. Not some fleeting action. When we say, وَنَحْنُ لَهُ عَابِدُونَ, that's the usage now. The function is to bring about thabut, is to bring thubut, is to bring about stability and continuity when we put that nominal sentence on the end like that. The explicit pronoun nahnu supplies tawkid, emphasis. The pronoun nahnu supplies tawkid and group self-identification, suitable after disputation with other communities. That becomes the self-identification, servitude, servants. Because of our coloring, my self-identity now is that coloring. It's your parents that makes you Christian or Jewish. Or now, it's your parents that makes you Christian, Jewish, or Muslim by label. But my true identity, nahnu abidun. We are slaves. To Allah. We are servants to Allah. Because we have been colored by the Quran. So the verse has a three-part structure. Slogan, Sibgatallahi is the slogan. Sip. We know we shorten things. Sip. Here, take a sip. Take a sip of this. Just a little sip. Don't try to take the whole Quran at one time. Just take a little sip. Just take a sip. Then come back for another sip. Don't try to just take it all down in one drink. Don't try to take so much. Just take your time. Take a sip. Then you have rationale. The rationale is what man ahsanu. Well, who is better? Who is more excellent? And then we have the identity. Nahnu lahu abidun. Meaning of coloring and the level of usage. So this is summing it up in conclusion. The word sibga is originally concrete. It's originally concrete. It's the dye. We had this verse before. So the dye or color applied to cloth. That's the idea of this word in origin. And classical lexica gloss it as imparting a color to something. Talween ash-shay'i bilawnin, applying coloring something with a color. Commentators then interpret it as religion. Now they have given interpretation to it as religion and innate disposition. Because religion imprints and differentiates its adherence as dye does a garment. So that's what they're saying. Now, in the process, I'm reading, what comes to my mind is I could say it's the Quran. The Quran is the sibga. Because the Quran imprints and differentiates its adherence as dye does a garment. Once you read this Quran in its original text with comprehension, and it starts influencing, coloring, and dyeing you until you become the Quran walking. What better dye is there than the Quran? Who is more excellent in dyeing than someone who dyes with the Quran? You go to the store, you see all the dyes on the shelf. What dye is more excellent than the Quran? And some of you say, well, The Quran won't bring me any money, brother Imam. Make you richer than you ever thought you could be. But that's how we think now. That's why we don't really get up early in the morning to be colored, to be dyed or colored by the Quran, because we think, oh, it won't bring me our money, so I'm mad so much on materialism. It won't bring me any money. If I saw you making money with it, if I saw you could make money with it, oh, yes, I would do it. I don't see you making money. To get someone to think of what I'm saying today, I would have to have the students, I would have to have you giving me large amounts of money. Because everything we measure in as material, and we can't even see the material gain from it. Which is a case of istiara, metaphorical transfer. Istiara. So we know the word istiara from al-bayan. Metaphor. Istiara. It's borrowed. We borrowed. Istiara means it's something that's borrowed. So we took sibga as a die, as you see I'm flipping back and forth, as a die, and we're going to borrow it. We're going to borrow it now to mean that it's the coloring by the Quran, it's the coloring by religion, or the coloring of that pure innate disposition. It's the coloring that's taking place now during this month of Ramadan. In Ilm al-Ma'ani, this metaphor is well suited to the contextual situation, maqam. We had this yesterday. So the more we keep seeing this nomenclature, we begin to learn through repetition, maqam, contextual situation. Stance. The people of the book are depicted as offering their own label, description, wasfun, description or label for guidance, be Jews or Christians, that we find in a previous verse. Often manifested invisible rights, or we could say rituals, like baptism, that quite literally color the body. So this is we could say, so it's not contention. The ritual of the baptism is where we're literally coloring the body, is a ritual or metaphor for it's a ritual for the body of knowledge we've just been talking about in terms of sibga. It's in the ritual. It's very visible, I would say. It's a very visible ritual that we find amongst Christians, many of us, of the body of knowledge of Sibgatullahi. That's in that ritual. Perhaps maybe they don't know it, but I'm sure they would agree with that. And we shouldn't just contend with them and attack them in this concept of baptism, in the ritual of baptism, thinking that is limited to just the cleansing or the coloring of the body. It's a ritual. It's not a real cleansing, just like wudu. Wudu is not a real cleansing, it's a ritual. The real cleansing, before you go to the church, you should take a bath, clean yourself. Don't go to the church dirty and smelly. to be baptized. And then they got to change the pool water. They should have to change that. They have to change that. They should get a shower. Baptize you with a shower. You get in that pool, you get dipped in the pool. Another person comes and get dipped in the pool. After a while, that pool got all that sin in it, because you're being cleansed of the sin. But the sin is not leaving the pool; it's in the water. So maybe I'm making fun of the Christians. I'm making fun of the ritual. I'm being light of the ritual. But at the same time, that's how showers came into being. Muslims brought about the showers, because you can't clean yourself sitting in the water. You're not getting clean. The water's getting dirty. Now you're sitting in dirty water. So in the esoterical sense, if you are dipping someone in the water, and the water is like the river, that's where it started, in the river. So the river is running. So the river is cleaning itself. The water is cleaning itself because it's running. It's running water. So it cleanses itself. So now, when you have a pool and the pool is not running water, the sin is staying. It's in the water. So you have to change the water. But if you have running water, your sins are being washed away by the river. It's being washed away. So now we come up with the shower where water would run, and the water is remaining clean because it's running, and it runs down through the drain. So now your baptism is with running water. So you ought to think about that. Send me another 10% of your offering. So, but getting back to the point, that act of baptism, the body of knowledge that's contained in that baptism, is the body of knowledge that we just went over talking about Sibgat Allahi. Now I know there are Christian people listening to the recordings when I put them up. So I think they could appreciate what I'm saying. The Quran answers with a parallel but superior coloring. The answers with a parallel but superior coloring. Not a physical water or social label in all respects, but an inward and outward transformation by Allah's religion, by the Quran, I would say. Some rhetorical works class Sibgat Allahi as a correspondence in wording to Christian baptismal dye, with the intended meaning being Tathirullahi. That's what I was just saying. Tathirullahi, meaning Allah's purification. Since faith purifies souls, thus highlighting a hidden ta'lil, a hidden ration, a hidden purpose behind the expression. So this is the last part. Let's see the last part here. I think we have said enough. Yes. I'm going to stop here. You can take a look at the last part if you like. Now let's look at the comment. This verse addresses the claims of those who say, be Jews or Christians. Every divine law has its particular expression, but the perfected servant receives a universal essence that transcends these forms. Ultimately, what matters is not the name of a community, What matters is not the name of a community, but the divine imprint that penetrates the heart, the sipka. The true path lies in this inner transformation. No human teaching, sacrament, or ascetic practice can compare with the direct divine act of imprinting. All valid spiritual paths serve merely as a vehicle for that act. All valid spiritual paths, or we could say, or traditions, spiritual traditions, serve merely as a vehicle for the act of an inner transformation in terms of imprinting. And to have the true imprinting is having the knowledge that's contained in those traditions, in those rituals, in those customs, so forth and so on. To create yourselves with the character traits of Allah means to shape your soul and personality based on the Quran's portrayal of qualities such as mercy, justice, balance, and truthfulness, rather than on racial, national, or worldly standards. Because you can be colored by racial identification, national identification, or some worldly standard becomes your coloring, the coloring of your soul. This kind of imprinting is not a ritual baptism, sibgatullahi we're talking, but rather an ongoing inner process. It involves allowing the Quranic guidance to permeate your thoughts, feelings, behavior, and social conduct. This is why I would say the sibgat is the Quran, the Quranic guidance to permeate your thoughts, feelings, behavior, and social conduct until it becomes your inherent nature. And that becomes your true identity. While some traditions may view baptism as an almost magical external act, many of us in religion, if I digress for a moment, we take these rituals that we do as some type of magical external act when we come into the environment of religion. And that's how it's taught by many religious leaders who are uneducated in religion, teaching religion before they study religion. And they end up speaking as though everything that we're doing something magical, something magical is going to occur. Allah's baptism occurs through knowledge, faith. What's the knowledge? What's the body of knowledge? When we make wudu, what's the body of knowledge that's contained in the ritual? What's the body of knowledge contained in the baptism? Or do we think just the water itself is something magical that's going to occur? What's the body of knowledge that's held in the voodoo? What's the body of knowledge that's held in the salat? What's the body of knowledge that's held in standing, bowing, prostrating, sitting? What's the body of knowledge that's held in all of these things that would bring about a conscious practice? Now, let me digress. To be a leader, to be an imam, teaching the religion of al-Islam, to be a da'i, teaching the religion of al-Islam, it should be incumbent that all imams, anyone who gets up, you're an imam when you're giving the Jumu'ah khutbah, you're an imam when you're leading the prayer, you're an imam when you're teaching this religion. It should be imperative, incumbent upon every imam who say that they're in the community association with Imam W.D. Muhammad, that they should be able to know and teach the body of knowledge that's contained in every ritual that we do. Or else, we could emphatically say you're not a follower, you're not in the company of Imam W.D. Muhammad. That's the minimum qualification that you should have before you start teaching. Learn before you start teaching. You should know the body of knowledge and teach that body of knowledge that's held in every ritual that we do, in every custom that we have. What's the body of knowledge in it? It's customary that we eat with the right hand. What's the body of knowledge that's held in that custom of eating with the right hand? What's the body of knowledge that's held in fasting? What's the body of knowledge that's held in everything that we do in zakat? Or is it just magical? Or are you just going to teach, if I give something, Allah is going to give to me magically? I'm going to get more back in some magical way. If I give you $10, Allah is going to reward me in some magical way. Are we teaching magic? If you make 4 rakats and forget one and make up one, something will happen magically. We're looking for magical things to occur. What's the body of knowledge that's held in it? That now these practices, these rituals, are entering our conscience, and as they enter our conscience, we're being colored by it. Where's the Quran reference in it that we can be colored by these acts? Yes, subconsciously and consciously. This includes, continuing, regular prayer and remembrance to cleanse the mind and habits, moral discipline, in honesty, responsibility, and family duties, as well as community service and the pursuit of justice. The danger arises when individuals adopt the wrong dye, such as beliefs in racial superiority. You picked the wrong dye off the shelf. Nationalist myths, material success, or exaggerated images of religious leaders. Exaggerated images of religious leaders. We could become guilty of that the way we exaggerate the leadership of Imam W.D. Muhammad and don't study the body of knowledge. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We will stop here Assalamu alaikum wa Ramadan Mubarak.